In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 habits that if you stop doing them, I promise you, you'll be happier, you will be more fulfilled, you will be more productive than you ever have been. Watch the video now. So I know that you actually want to know what are these 5 habits that if you stopped doing them, your life would be completely different. Well, that's what I want to share with you in this video. So the question is, are you ready? I'm most definitely ready. Let's go for it. So we need to first of all look at what habits actually are. Then we're going to talk about excuses and something that is known as EXCUSITIS. Then we're going to look at procrastination, which is the art of putting things off. Then we're going to look at not feeling like it. This is really, really powerful. Then we're going to look at rumination. And then we're going to look at what is known as habit suicide. Now, I am really fascinated with the whole subject of habits. I've written a book, came out in 2003, published in multiple languages around the world. It was published in Korean, it was published in Arabic, in Polish, and of course English, because it's something that we all have in common. But what is a habit? This is the first thing we really need to look at. But before we look at what habits are, I think it's really important to emphasize something. Look, if you want to go to a place that you've not gone before, because ultimately the other thing that we all have in common is we all have goals, we all have dreams, we all have ambitions. We are what the Greeks called teleological. Everything that we do is for our future. It's our view of the future that is really interesting. And we've spoken about this on a number of the YouTube videos on our channel. And if you start to think about what is your relationship to your future and what is your relationship to where you are right now, because when we look at what habits are just a way of us moving through the world. The reason we have survived, the reason we've outlived other animals and other human entities like Neanderthals, is that we created a brain that could learn things that we could eventually forget them. It's not that we forget them, it's just they run on autopilot. And I really would encourage you to take a few moments today, tomorrow, and just think about what are the habits that I have. Because maybe you have habits that you want to actually stop. Maybe you have habits that you actually want to break. But it's important to understand that your brain actually thinks that the habits that you have are the habits you're supposed to have. And that when we try to change, there's a part of us that goes, whoa, 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 stop. You're not changing. This is who we are. So it's essential to have this frame of reference first of all, because ultimately you're probably watching this because you have habits you want to break, you've got goals, you've got dreams, and you've got ambitions. And what's really interesting to think about is if you want to start something, I think it's really important to first off work out what it is that you actually need to stop. So these are 5 habits which I would definitely encourage you to stop doing, because if you stop doing them or you do less of them, your whole life is going to transform like you wouldn't believe. So excuses. What is excuses? Well, I remember reading in a book about something that is called EXCUSITIS. Brian Tracy writes about this. EXCUSITIS. What is excusitis? Well, he talks about it as inflammation of the excuse-making gland. Why do we make excuses about the things that we know that we need to do? Well, there's a few reasons, but one of them is the fact that we associate pain to doing many of the things that if we did them, our lives would transform. But just take some time over the next few weeks as you become more curious and you become more aware of the narrative. The narrative is what's going on behind the scenes. The stories that you're telling yourself, like, oh, you know what, I'll just do that later. I don't really feel like doing that now. So just think about the amount of times you excuse yourself. And I think what happens is when we make excuses, we're actually excusing ourselves from moving forwards. And life is motion. We talk about this a lot, which is about the gap. The gap or gaps between where we are and where we want to be. And most people are just settling for where they are. And when you settle for where you are, you start to procrastinate. And this word, what it actually means is to put forwards until tomorrow. So again, think about the excuses you make and think about the amount of times you go, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. You know what, I'm not really feeling it today. You know what, I don't need to do it now. If you keep doing that, what you'll end up doing is living a future that you don't want. This is what happens. This is what these habits lead to. They lead to a future where you will go, how did I get here? I don't want to be where I am. And you'll wish that you'd actually made some changes. And the magic really is, first step, it's in the awareness. As you start to see what you are putting forward. There's a Latin word, to put forwards until tomorrow. The third habit that you definitely need to stop doing is not feeling like it. It's fascinating. If you took a moment right now to think about all the people in the world who probably don't feel like doing something that if they did it, their life would improve. Think about it. How many people now are lying in bed and think, I just can't be bothered to get up. I can't be bothered to exercise. I can't be bothered to cook. I can't be bothered to clean. I can't be bothered to pick up the phone and make that extra phone call. Who is it that said the most expensive land in the world is the graveyard? Why? Because all of those people that have been buried with their greatest ideas buried with them because they didn't feel like what they wanted to do. What I've observed from the most successful people is how they feel doesn't really come into play. And I really want to make this point because it's hugely important. You already know what to do. You already know what to stop doing, and you already know what to start doing to take your life to a place that you've not gone before. And I think the time has come for you to really push the button on something you need to stop doing. Because if you stop doing these things, I promise you, you'd start doing something else. Because what we need to think about is what is the opposite of all of these things. You see, when a disaster comes or a prognosis or something bad happens, we behave in ways that if we carried on behaving in those ways, our lives would transform. But it's the fact that we don't feel like it and we ruminate. Rumination really comes from what cows do. Cows ruminate. They eat the food, they put it into one of their stomachs, they throw it up, then they eat it again, and then they throw it up and they eat it again. That's what we do. We go over and over and over and over and over things. And thinking is a great thing, but thinking is also something which can stop us from moving forwards as we continue to go over and over and over things. The time has come for us to take action. The time has come for us to stop these things and start the things that we really need to do. And the last stop is stop committing habit suicide. What that means is that if you start to do something, like so many people do, you need to stop starting and then stopping, which is what so many people do. We start something, then we don't feel like it. There's actually a word in Sanskrit, Indian Sanskrit, the first written words, that means hero in the beginning. That we would start things and not finish them. Why? Well, because we don't feel like it. Because we make excuses, because we put forwards until tomorrow, because we just think, is it really worth it? Let me ask you, as a coach, and maybe even your coach, what will be your greatest ever achievement in your life? I do believe your greatest achievement will be who you become based on the fact that you stop doing these things. Be wary. If you start to do something you don't normally do, and you get into the habit of doing it, if you stop it for a day, okay, you might just get away with it. But if it's 2 days, if it's 3 days, that's what people call habit suicide. It's like you've just killed the habit, and now you have to start all over again. We're living in a world right now where everyone wants everything instantly. Instant coffee, instant success, instant breakfast, instant credit. Click this and your life will change in an instant. Well, it might click if you decide to click and make some significant changes in your life. But you need to do the work. And we can help you with that. You know, you should really check out the program that we created, the challenge that is known as the Stop One, Start One Challenge. Because what we do in our program is help you start stopping these things. Help you identify who you actually want to be and help you start thinking and acting like that person as you become the person that you want to pursue. So, in summary, what are the 5 habits that you need to stop doing that will literally help you to start feeling happier. Because if you just stop making excuses, what's the opposite of that? You're going to start doing things and you'll feel better for doing them. If you stop procrastinating and start doing the things that you need to do. If something takes less than 2 minutes to do, do it and notice how much happier you feel immediately. If you don't feel like doing something and you do it, notice how the motivation and inspiration that you want comes to you because you started ruminating. When you feel yourself going over and over and over something, just get started, just get in the game. And when you feel like stopping doing something, you don't feel like it, that habit, do it. And before you know it, you'll be so happy about the actions that you chose to make. If you want to find out about the Stop One, Start One program, look in the description here, click on the link, go and see for yourself. It's free for 14 days. You get access to our app and you can go out and track and pursue the person that you want to be. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.